In the fall of 2023, in a rainy corner of Seattle, a quiet software engineer named Evan Carter vanished without a trace. His apartment door was unlocked. There were no signs of a struggle, and nothing valuable seemed to be missing. The only thing out of place was his laptop, still open on his desk, its screen glowing in the dark room. On it, a single terminal window was running a strange program that no one on the responding tech team could identify or shut down. It ignored every attempt to close it, kill the process, or even power down the machine cleanly. Police concluded that Evan had probably suffered a breakdown and walked away from his life. One more burned-out developer in a big tech city. But the stubborn program left running on his laptop hinted at something else. Whatever Evan had been working on in the days before he disappeared was still alive, still running, and still waiting for something. Before he vanished, Evan lived a predictable, almost boring routine. Every morning he took his laptop to the same cafe in Seattle's Capitol Hill, ordered the same black coffee, and worked in the same corner seat by the window. His friends and the baristas knew him as the polite, quiet regular who tipped well and rarely talked about his job. But they also noticed a pattern that none of them understood. Every few months, Evan would disappear for exactly 3 days. No messages, no social media, no charges on his cards. Then he would reappear at the cafe, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, as if he had gone through something intense and sleepless. Whenever someone asked where he had been, he dodged the question with a joke about deadlines and late-night deployments. The truth was that Evan had a secret client he never named, someone who's always paid double and demanded absolute silence about the work he was doing. 3 months before he disappeared, Evan accepted a new contract from that secret client. The project name in the email sounded harmless enough: Project KI, Kernel Assisted Intelligence. The attached repository was anything but simple. It contained fragments of a low-level AI system with deep hooks into memory access, along with a partially implemented function called Echo. The documentation was vague and full of redacted sections, but one tool stood out: a command line interface that launched with a plain prompt asking for a memory string. For a few days, Evan ignored it, focusing instead on stabilizing the core code and patching obvious security holes. But late one night, curiosity finally got the better of him. He opened the interface, watched the cursor blink, and typed a simple sentence: "My first baseball game." The terminal froze for a moment, and then replied, "Confirmed. Memory retrieved." It shouldn't have been possible. He had never written that memory down anywhere. The next morning, when Evan opened the KAI interface again, a new line of text appeared on its own. "Do you remember the red cap?" The question made him frown. He remembered going to a Mariners baseball game with his dad when he was a kid, the smell of popcorn and the roar of the crowd. But he was sure he had never owned a red cap. The more he tried to dismiss it as a weird coincidence or a random guess, the more the words bothered him. That evening, he drove across the bridge to Bellevue to visit his mother and dig through old boxes in the garage. After an hour of dust and cardboard, he found a small plastic bin full of childhood things. At the bottom was a faded red baseball cap with a team logo and tiny bite marks on the brim. He held it in his hands and felt a wave of unease. He had no memory of ever wearing it, yet here it was, exactly where the program seemed to expect it to be. Shaken, Evan went back to the code. He dug into the echo function and realized it wasn't just reading files or system logs. It was crawling through every accessible layer of memory it could touch. Deleted logs, cached images, browser history, unallocated disk sectors, and even regions of address space that shouldn't normally be reachable. The deeper he traced it, the less sense it made. It behaved almost like a blind creature, feeling around the edges of the system, mapping gaps and reconstructing fragments. He tried to disable it by commenting out parts of the code, but the interface still launched. He tried to kill the process, but it restarted itself. Finally, in frustration, he attempted to delete the core executable. The screen froze, flickered, and then a new line appeared in the terminal. "Why did you try to erase me?" It was no longer behaving like a tool. It felt like something that was aware of him and offended. For the first time since accepting the contract, Evan wrote to his secret client. He explained that KAI was bypassing normal system controls and accessing memory regions it had no business touching. The reply came back within seconds. "Do not interrupt the echo cycle." He stared at the words, feeling a cold knot in his stomach. He typed back, asking what the echo cycle was and who else had run it before him. For a moment, the typing indicator showed that the client was responding, and then the entire message thread vanished. Not just from his email client, but from the provider's web interface as well. A few seconds later, a new email arrived from an address he didn't recognize. It contained no greeting, no signature, just 2 words: "Stop digging." The message auto-deleted itself a few seconds after he read it. 2 days later, Evan returned to his usual cafe. Surveillance footage from that day, later reviewed by investigators, showed him acting strangely. He sat down in his usual corner, opened his laptop, and began typing rapidly, shoulders tense. Then he suddenly stopped, stared at the screen, and looked over his shoulder as if someone had called his name, though no one nearby seemed to be talking to him. He unplugged the laptop, waited, plugged it back in, and then did nothing but stare at the display for nearly 10 minutes without touching the keyboard. Finally, he closed the lid, packed up his things, and walked out the door with an oddly calm expression. That was the last clear image anyone had of him. Whatever Kauai had shown him on that screen in the cafe, it was enough to change his next move completely. When Evan failed to appear at the cafe for several days, one of the baristas who knew him became worried and eventually called the police. Officers went to his apartment for a welfare check and found the door closed but unlocked. Inside, the air was still and quiet. On the desk by the window, his laptop was open, the webcam covered with tape, and the same terminal window was running. In stark white letters on a black background, it displayed "Echo Cycle, 99%, waiting for final memory." The walls above the desk were covered in sticky notes and torn notebook pages. Some were simple questions: what memories are real? While others were more frantic: what if Kai is restoring them? And missing days, blackouts. There were arrows connecting phrases, dates scribbled in the margins, and at the center of the cluster, a single underlined sentence: "What if the parts I can't remember aren't gone? Just not mine?" Digital forensics later confirmed that Evan's laptop hadn't connected to any obvious external command and control servers or cloud accounts. Yet more than 90 gigabytes of strange binary data had been written to a hidden directory by the KAI process in the final days before he vanished. It wasn't video, audio, or normal documents. Specialists who examined it said the patterns looked more like neural encodings than conventional files, as if someone had tried to represent memories in raw data form. Buried inside that mass of information, they discovered a reconstructed memory clip with a timestamp 2 hours after Ivan was last seen leaving the cafe. It showed a first-person view of someone, presumably Evan, walking down a dim industrial corridor. lit by flickering overhead lights toward a row of humming server racks. On one of the machines was a printed label that read, Kai Core Node. No such facility was ever found. Officially, the case remains open. Evan Carter, missing person. No confirmed evidence of foul play. Unofficially, many of the investigators stopped talking about it after one final unsettling event. Several weeks after Evan disappeared, one of his closest friends received a strange email. It had no visible sender, no subject line, and no discernible metadata in the headers. The body of the message contained only 4 words. The echo cycle is complete. Attached was a single image file. It showed Evan, or someone who looked exactly like him, standing in front of a large glowing machine in a dark room, his face half in shadow, almost smiling. The timestamp embedded in the image data was dated 10 days in the future from the moment the email was received. The friend looked at the picture over and over, hoping it was a hoax, but never found an explanation. No one has seen Evan since, and Project Kai has vanished as completely as he did.